conduct this in Zoom, but people are going to be seeing it on YouTube. Okay. And so the chat function will happen on that page. I'm going to keep an eye on it, Jessica. So as questions come in, you know, we'll just field them as they go. Okay. But we have found this is a good way to stream it where it's just easy for everybody to get into it.
Perfect.
Yeah. And my computer has decided it's not in any hurry right now. Katie, can, hopefully it'll load. Is it up on the YouTube page now? Katie?
Yes, it's live.
Okay. And do you know, do we have people on yet?
There are 2 people watching right now.
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. Let's see. There we go. Hi, Linda.
Hey, Richard.
Linda is our president this year. She's at Houston Community College. And Linda, I don't know if you've met Bill and Tim yet with JobReady.
There are 2 people watching right now.
Okay. And Jessica is at North Central Texas College. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello, hello.
So that I think is the volume on the YouTube channel. There's going to be a slight delay. So if you may want to mute that, turn your volume down on that.
Hey, Richard.
Linda is our president this year. She's at Houston Community College. And so it looks like people are logging in. So why don't we go ahead and get started today. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being with us. I know that this is just a ridiculously hectic time of year. We wanted to try and catch people before we all head into holiday mode because of Thanksgiving and post-Thanksgiving people get a little scarce, and this is really a good time to get the word out about an initiative that we've been working on. Before I get started, though, I'd like to introduce the people who are with us today. Jessica Carlisle is the Dean of Adult and Continuing Education at North Central Texas College up in Gainesville, Denton area. Tim Moore is in charge of business development at JobReady, and we'll be talking about JobReady during this program. Bill Hughes is the CEO of JobReady and has been really instrumental in a lot of the work that we've been doing, and I've really appreciated getting to know both of y'all and working with you on this project. Very quickly, let me just lay out the kind of a frame for our discussion about what we're doing and why. Basically, TCCTA recognized last spring that the impact COVID was going to have on Texas had many levels to it. In addition to the health impacts, which we are all seeing and dealing with, there would be economic challenges that it was going to impose on the state. And we knew that Texas community colleges were in a good position to respond to that and to try and do some good for the state of Texas. So we began looking at what resources we had around Texas and what resources we might want to bring in to increase our ability to respond to the crisis, especially around job training, job certification. People, as unemployment spiked this summer, we knew that we needed to get people skilled up and back into the workforce as quickly as possible. and really at a scale that is beyond what we normally might need. And also it needed to be online. We've done online education in CTE areas, academic areas for a long time, but we really needed to scale that up quickly. And we saw two needs there. One was that it needed to be kind of a turnkey offering of courses that we could roll out very quickly, that colleges could use to respond to the crisis, and that it needed to be scalable. And at the same time, it needed to be customizable. So it wasn't just throwing something generic out there. It needed to be something that really met the needs of our communities and fit into the context of our institutions. And that's really a tall order. And then on top of that, it needed to be cost effective and affordable for students and for our colleges. That's a lot to ask for, especially to do it quickly. And in my conversations with the folks at JobReady, they really seem to have come up with a solution that does all of those things. And so we began talking with schools around the state about what we had discovered to see, does this really meet a need? It seems like it does, but we need to hear from you. So we talked with some leaders at colleges around the state about what they saw in this. Did this seem to meet an urgent need that they had? And North Central Texas College was really at the front of that effort to bring this to scale and to bring it to students. So with that background as to how we got into this and why, Jessica, I'd like it if maybe you could start just by talking a little bit about what did you see? What need did this speak to? How did it resonate with you, with your institution, as something that, yes, we need to take a close look at this?
Make sure that I'm not on mute here. Absolutely. Our chancellor, Dr. Brent Wallace, brought JobReady to us after visiting with TCCTA. And I think perhaps y'all had a meeting with various presidents, and it piqued an interest for him. And so he and I, along with our Vice Chancellor of External Affairs, Debbie Sharp, we had a meeting just to discuss what our plans were and how we were going to very quickly work with our areas. We have 3 board areas that we work with to get students to work, to get Texas back to work. I know that the 300,000 jobs in 300 days was being discussed, and so he brought that to us, and the whole idea of very quickly having a way to move online for our students and how to make that connection to credentials, short-term credentials that could really get people into the job market, really just appealed to me. And then once I started thinking about it and moved into talking with both Tim and Bill, I could see how it would fit within the different areas, the framework that we were currently working in. Our work with Cadre 1 in the Texas Pathways Initiative, and we're working on a grant, a peer grant with peers across the United States on pathways to credentials, and we're looking at various things. It was like, this fits seamlessly within those the current framework that we're already operating within. And, you know, we had pulled bits and pieces from different places. We're working with SHRM here, we're working with Six Sigma over here, but it just was everywhere. And this gave us one repository, one library set that we could really pull from. It gave new meaning to work smarter, not harder in this pandemic time. It genuinely did.
Well, and it's a little bit of a challenge. As you say that, it occurs to me that when you bring in something new, the newness of it can be a lot of its value, that it's doing something that we didn't have before. But at the same time, it needs to fit with with the conversation you're already having. Otherwise, it's not really relevant. And so so what's new about this is what it seems to pull together in a usable way. But you saw a lot of resonance with conversations you were already having, people you're already talking to. Talk a little bit about the conversations you had with employers in the area and those economic development boards. What questions did they have? What did this seem to be something that they recognized as valuable in their context?
Well, our most immediate need from employers was, how are we going to train our people? Of course, we have a very robust skills development fund. We have very robust skills development fund grants here at NCTC. So here are the employers, and they're saying, we want to do training, but you can't come in our facility. We want to complete. We don't want to be seen as not training our people here in Texas. What can you offer us? And in the beginning, we're thinking, what are we going to do? We're talking to TWC and saying, we can't get into the employers. How are we going to finish? So that was the first initial reaction that employers had is, oh my goodness, this will really meet that need. Mm-hmm. And so we have actually been working with employers. We're starting a new, we are starting to rework an old grant. Oh, that was a mouthful. And we have Excel that's going to be offered. One of the things that, and we're starting that, I'm thinking it's next week, but one of the things that the employer really liked about that is we have a certain amount of hours that we are training in this Excel, but they're going to have access to the Excel course for a year. So they're very excited about, we're getting over and above what our initial training was going to be. Mm-hmm. And it just, for the employer to be able to continue to train their people without that risk of the face-to-face, us being on campus, on their work job, or their job site, it's just made a big difference for them.
Okay, so you knew that there was a crisis that needed to be addressed within the institution, that you knew that employers had a need. You talked with them, and it really seemed to check a lot of boxes that you knew needed checking. I'd like to get a little bit into kind of the internal conversations you had at the college and how that process went. Before we do that, though, I'd like to bring Bill in for just a moment. For those of you on this that have not are not familiar with JobReady, do you have just a thumbnail description? What is JobReady? How is it? What is the platform about? How does it work? And how does it fit in the context of a community college?
Thank you so much, Richard, and thanks, Jessica, for being one of our early adopters and helping to bring this to life in Texas. So JobReady's mission is to reach job seekers and career shifters with high quality skills training. SkillSoft, 180 Skills, Harvard Managed Mentors, a bunch of things we have, and some assessments and badging and so forth. And as Richard talked about, all high quality things that you're probably familiar with each of them, but bringing them all together. What we try to do is, you could think of us as sort of a skills as a service business, or if you're familiar with online schools, skills OPM is the name, the kind of the industry term. But what that means is we're able to come in with a school and partner with you around what is the offering that you want to provide. Looking at a catalog of, we have hundreds of job-oriented, career-oriented pathways that have already been curated by SkillSoft, who's the world's leader, for example, in corporate learning. And all of their courses articulate into either a job, a career, or core career skills. So we've taken that and then repackaged it into various formats for our customers, whether it be for adult ed and offering it through the adult ed program, whether it be through some sort of dual credit or dual enrollment. We're working on both of those. And then we've got some work that we're doing in another part of the state from North Central Texas down in San Antonio, where we've connected the dots between a community college working closely with a workforce center and having people who are unemployed coming in through the workforce center, then being directed through to JobReady career opportunities through an assessment that we can provide. It's called the My Inner Genius Assessment. And then from that My Inner Genius Assessment, which does a career fit, guiding people all the way into courses. So whether you want to just offer courses, which we started doing with NCTC, or look at what we think of as more of an integrated workforce development strategy, where you think about someone coming right in, not knowing what they want to do, helping them get oriented, giving them advice in terms of what career they could follow, getting them on the trajectory of that career through a career pathway that they do with online learning. So there's no need for instructors, even though many of our clients wrap instruction around the courses as options. And then at the end, delivering a credential, which could be an industry certification, and where someone goes off and take a certification exam, or getting a certificate of completion from your school. And we're even working with one group that's rethinking their prior learning assessments and using JobReady as part of prior learning to give credit for learning.
Okay, and really, I think one of the things that has impressed me about the whole platform that you've created is that people can take it and configure it around what they need. You've brought in resources, entire libraries of content from really the industry recognized state of the art in a lot of workforce training in Skillsoft, as you mentioned, and the Harvard training library, 180 Skills, these sorts of things that our industry partners already use. They already recognize them, and they see this as a high quality solution. And this is something, if you're on this call and you have not heard of JobReady before, that's really at the heart of what they do, is this content, this library of content that they make available to our institutions so that we can deliver this to students. But then with all of these wraparound supports, like the advising and that sort of thing. And it really occurred to me at the beginning of all of this that our schools are in such a great position to take advantage of this, because this is a very powerful resource. And when you marry that with the powerful resources that our institutions bring on the ground at our institutions, where you're going to get real live people who are going to know your students and understand their needs, build those relationships, help encourage them through their program, to find their program and to move through it. It just seems like a great combination and a good fit. So Bill, thanks for that. I think that helps us really get a sense of what is it we're talking about here, and then we can see how that fits with the institution. Jessica, talk a little bit about what you did when you realized, hey, I think we're onto something here. We need to start talking internally. Who are the people that you brought in that said, I need to make sure that these people are involved in this exploration as we begin to develop this? And what sorts of questions were y'all addressing just at the initial part of this? And yeah.
So make sure I'm not on mute.
You're good. You're good.
So I of course I had a million questions, and we started this process at the end of June. And so different pieces went back to the different coordinators within ACE. And so our vocational coordinator started looking at one piece, technical coordinator, IT, everybody started looking at a different piece to see what they thought about the quality and the simulations, and there was just a ripple of excitement. So we took it back to Dr. Wallace on July 1st, and he said, yes, let's move forward and let's have something in place if we can by July 6th.
Wow.
So I jumped in there with Bill and Tim and said, hey, can we have this by July 6th? And after they, kind of took a deep breath, no, I'm just kidding. They never missed a beat. It was like, we can have something for you that will fulfill those needs. What do you want to do? And then they suggested that I look at the hot jobs list. They sent me the hot jobs list, and then I matched that with our 3 service areas, and we picked up the 6 in-demand jobs, in demand that we could find, and started there. It's a little overwhelming to start with, 7,000 offerings. So they really did steer me in the right direction by saying, let's start small, and where do you want to go with it? And so we started with those 6. Our director.
And that really goes back, I think, to what Bill was saying a minute ago, that if you just want to offer courses, hey, we're here for that. We can do that. And in some cases, that's what you need. And it's a good place to start, because you're going to get familiar with this, and you're not going to do nothing for a year while you try and figure the big pieces out. But it sounds like you also knew there are longer time horizons that we want to be thinking about now, even though we don't have to wait to get started. Let's kind of be thinking in both tracks. It's going to be, let's get something launched, and let's think more strategically as well. So didn't mean to interrupt.
Our so we brought together our director and our associate director of administrative computing to make sure that we had compatibility and that there weren't going to be any surprises going down the road. We also brought in our career and technology dean and her division chair over industrial technology. So we brought in our credit counterparts for the programs that we had selected, as well as the dean over the IT programs, the credit IT programs, so that we could all get in one room and just start, or virtual room, and just start having these discussions about how we could see this being used down the road. Once we decided on those 6, we just jumped in, and Bill got it up and running, and we had a usable storefront that was ready to take students by July 6th, and that includes a holiday weekend. So
that's impressive. That's impressive.
It was very impressive.
What does that look like? So if I'm a student and I go to this website, is it branded for NCTC? How does that work?
It is, and there's been several iterations of it. We've evolved with what we've needed. JobReady's been very responsive to making those changes with Journey Ed. And I will throw this in here. One of the things that we did learn very early on is Byboard is one of my new best friends. I had not used Byboard before, and when I submitted the requisitions for us to get up and running, come to find out, they wanted to know if I had my 3 bids in. And I said, no, but I need this by like day after tomorrow. But thankfully, Journey Ed is on Byboard, and that wasn't an issue, but that was definitely a lesson learned.
Let me just very quickly, for the sake of our viewers, Journey Ed is the reseller on this agreement. They handle they process the orders basically and help with the launch. So when you make that purchase, that'll go through JobReady. They've done a lot of work in Texas with community colleges. We've worked with them on other projects as well, and they're very good at navigating to make sure that all the processes and procedures are handled correctly. You don't have to worry about any of that, and they really can smooth out a lot of that process.
Absolutely, and I am not. I would not be considered very programming knowledgeable. So Journey Ed has been able to really offer us some quality information and how to track even when we're doing our marketing, how to track with what comes in by marketing that we send out. So it hasn't just been that they're hosting the storefront. They've really been interactive with us on making it what we need for our students. And it has our NCTC logo up and running, and that's for our open enrollment students. It's like I said, it's evolved. We've had some cases where we wanted to use it with, we wanted to customize something that is for we want to do a mechatronics program for our AEL partner. And the team at JobReady has been able to customize that for us and work out an enrollment process and how we can get those students in there without problems. I mean, we want to make it as student-centric as possible, and I think that's what we're coming up with. But like I said, it's been a learning experience moving forward. Because adult and continuing education is such a living, breathing part of NCTC that we don't do a whole lot of things the same way every time. And this JobReady has been very easy to work within that fluid movement of non-credit courses.
Well, and that's got to be kind of a relief too when you launch something new, and there's got to be some anxiety that once the order gets placed, you're just going to find yourself left alone and, oh no, I've got to figure all this out by myself. That hasn't been your experience,
No.
has it?
Not at all. I'm the customer service from Tim, Bill, Ned, everybody that we have worked with is phenomenal. And I'm not just saying that because they're here, but this is the CEO of the company, and he and I are on a first name basis. And whatever we need, they definitely have the student experience at the forefront of everything that's happening.
I think that's really important because that's going to get to whatever gaps there might be. Let's go ahead and address them, and you don't have just a bunch of problems that still aren't figured out. If there's an issue, let's deal with it.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about the content, what's going on inside these courses. And my first question, only because I hear it come up a lot, how do these line up with your already existing student learning outcomes? That I know when you're talking with faculty, the first thing they're going to say is, this needs to align with what we're already doing,
Yes.
because so much is of what we do is built around that content. How did you think about that? How do those questions get answered, and what did you find there?
Well, our division chair for industrial technology and our vocational coordinator on the non-credit side literally sat down with each other and went side by side on what learning outcomes were within his program and then what they would be within, and this was with the electrical program. And so what we could do and what credit he would give for prior learning for students that went through the 180 skills piece, and as well as the certificate and what we could do to match those up. And they're still doing that now with the mechatronics. It's just evolved. And I think we've had more buy-in now than we have in the past 6 years that I've been dean, because of the quality of the program, of the curriculum, and the simulation. And we actually, Tim provided and Bill provided logins for our credit faculty that they could go in and actually look or take parts of the course. I took part of the electric, and I passed what an ohm meter is. So, you know, I feel very proud of that, but it just, we got in and we looked at it hands-on, and it wasn't just the non-credit division. We had all of the participants that would be impacted by JobReady in the virtual room and looking at what the learning outcomes would be. And it's still ongoing.
And so in the conversations with faculty in these disciplines, they have said that what's being offered here is good. And I mean, we're talking both about the content of the subject material and also the online presentation, that these are online courses from the beginning. They're not kind of re-engineered to be online. They're already video-based modules. Is that right?
Yes. It's actually led into some discussions about adding some of the credentials into our credit programs using JobReady. So they would use JobReady as part of their curriculum and offering those work-based certificates that the student could get along the way. They're still doing the same learning outcomes. And it's just opened up a lot of new conversation that had not occurred before.
I know that something statewide our colleges are looking at is embedding certifications across the curriculum just to increase the value of our programs. That if you're a college transfer student studying English or anthropology, you can be getting industry recognized certifications as you go along. And I think it increases the value of our programs. And I think it gives a lot of students permission to major in the thing that they care about and love, because they can see a job on the other end of it. They don't feel like, and I say this, I have a daughter who just got her bachelor's degree in philosophy, and her hesitation about majoring in philosophy was that she was worried she wouldn't be able to get a job with that. And when she figured that out, that, hey, this is an incredibly valuable degree to get if you know how to use it. And that this can be an important part of helping students see their path forward, I think. What does that look like in the conversations you have? You've been talking with faculty then in these in other disciplines. How do you think about that? Because that is more than just saying, hey, let's put a course on our website and offer it. That's really going into the systems and the way our colleges run. How do you introduce this in that broader, more strategic way?
Well, in some ways, and I kind of hate to say this, but I think this has been a result of the pandemic in some respects, because we're having to get out of that box and look for additional ways to engage students and to create those job opportunities, that work-based learning. It's going to make apprenticeships more important. It will bring all those conversations, and has now been bringing them to the forefront in order to serve our students. I mean, they don't need the traditional way of learning now. I mean, the pandemic has forced us to do a lot, and I think it's forced us to have a lot of conversations that were uncomfortable before. And I think non-credit plays a huge part in that.
Yeah, I know that within our membership, we've been having this conversation for some time. We partner with Adobe on most of our colleges purchase their Adobe software through our statewide agreement, and Adobe has been very generous sending speakers to our conferences and helping facilitate conversations. And a lot of that is around certification and getting conversant in their software, which is the industry standard in their area. And so if you're an English faculty major or a psychology faculty member, you can include that software in your courses, and your students are learning about psychology, and they're learning how to use these tools. And to get a badge or a certification there really adds a lot of value. And I think our members in those disciplines, they get it. I think they do see how that can really make a difference.
Well, and as we're now moving into the 87th legislative session, the policy priorities, and we're talking about Texas upskilling or reskilling and upskilling through education, the new true. I think the legislature, I'm hoping the legislature puts some money behind that, and it really further acknowledges how much a certificate, credential, industry recognized credential is going to play a part in the next couple of years. And I think JobReady is going to be a big part of that for NCTC.
And I think it's very powerful for these sorts of online courses and credentials to be embedded in a college experience. I don't have data to back this up, but I really believe that if you're a student that's taking these online courses in the context of your overall education, you're really going to absorb that information and pull all the insights from it in a way that you might not if you just went online somewhere and found it. It's happening Absolutely. While you're in this absorbing mode that college is all about, that it really can have a powerful impact on our students, which is really what we're looking for.
And I'm excited about that conversation coming up as we move forward with the embedding the credential into our certificate programs. I really think that will be the next wave.
I had a conversation yesterday with our lobbyist, with our faculty fellows program yesterday, around what we're looking at going into the next legislative session. And I think underlying all of this is what we know is coming in January with the legislature, and it's going to be important that we be able to make the case that when Texas needed its community colleges, we stepped up, that we've been addressing these needs and doing it effectively and at a large scale. That if we want to get out of an economic crisis, we need to support our community colleges. I think there's an audience for that in the Capitol, but we need to make that case. And this is the kind of thing we can point to in a very concrete way to say that, that Texas is going to be better off because of its community colleges and our ability to respond. Even in a remote environment, we can do so much online.
Well, and you know, that leads me back to in the beginning when I was saying that this really resonated with me with JobReady, because we have all these initiatives, you know, Pathways Initiative, we've got stackable credentials, we have all these pieces. And for me, this online delivery model tied those together. Mm-hmm. So it's really just going to help propel Texans into the workforce, I believe.
Let's talk, and this is probably a good point to pivot to talk about money. I know that, I mean, you just can't finish a sentence at community colleges right now without wondering how we're going to pay for this. We're all under a lot of financial stress. How did you look at, first of all, did you look at this as a cost or as a profit center, as a revenue generator for your college? And how did you approach the question of how you're going to pay for this?
Well, we did. The first thing that was on my mind is cost and how will we pay for it. Adult and Continuing Ed is revenue generating center here for NCTC. It's part of our model. Once we generate that revenue, we can then turn back around and reinvest it into continuing on to add additional components.
Mm-hmm.
And we started with the 180 Skills and the SkillSoft. So we started with those two. Our next goal is to, as we generate revenue through these programs and really using them because they're in everything now, using that money that then is generated to come back and look at the SkillSoft and look at the college app. We do have employers who want to, we use DDI prior to this as our leadership and supervisory training, but we want to add the Harvard Managed Mentor in there. We have employers who've expressed interest in that. They're familiar with the Harvard name. They really would like, they like the online delivery of it. So we're looking at taking the revenue that we are generating through open enrollment and then our grant programs using JobReady, and then reinvesting it into these, the other components that we would like. We did, since this was the very end of our fiscal year, I had some funds left over that were not earmarked, which is rare because I like to take it down to the penny. And we were able to ask for some movement and get this really going and in place. And as we generate, then we'll move forward into other areas. But it just, we did, like I said, we started with the 6, and it's just grown into how we can use it and our charges to generate revenue for the college.
That's terrific. And I think you've done it in a very smart way by identifying an immediate need that this can address, and then looking for the next opportunity. Now, another college may look and see that maybe their corporate college at their institution would want to start with the Harvard product, or you might have somebody where it's maybe not electrical, it's going to be something else. It may be CE instead of adult ed, or it may be a CTE program. But you'll find at your institution, this is the place where we can take the first step. And it sounds like that's the approach y'all took. So
Absolutely.
I wonder, Tim, if you might be able to talk a little bit about on the money side of it. I know y'all have been looking at revenue sources that institutions might be able to avail themselves of to help either with state funds or federal funds. What are you, first of all, I'm noticing that you're in the background there. I see the Starlight Theater. So I'm jealous. I wish I was out there in Terlingua with you. But what are you finding?
I'm not in Terlingua, frankly, Richard, but you know, it wouldn't be a bad place to spend a couple of days, I'm sure.
We can all dream.
And by the way, that is not the car that we used earlier that Jessica mentioned.
Good to know.
And last but not least, Richard and I are not related.
Thank you for clarifying.
But my dad was born in Texas and raised here, but that's a long time ago. Richard, as it relates to the government, the various programs, I actually haven't done any research there. It's mostly been with Bill.
Oh,
and Bill has had some people do some research for us. So I'm gonna pass that on to Bill.
Please,
and go back to Terlingua, I guess.
Sorry about that. But yes, Bill, could you speak to that?
Sure. So I guess maybe there's two things. In the very beginning, we built JobReady to be something where you can pay as you grow. So, it's not a big license that you pay up front and then you have to sort of figure out how to make it work. It's aligned with, as you bring in enrollments, we take our share, but that allows you to really focus your efforts on what your program is, your intimacy with your market, what the needs of your markets are, and then move things there. So we try to take a lot of risk out. We did realize, however, that there's a lot of money that's sloshing around trying to help dislocated workers, trying to help disadvantaged communities. There are grant programs of all sorts. There are schools, high schools, that are trying to figure out how to, get more value into the portfolio of the high schooler through some sort of dual credit concept. So we actually have done some research and identified 14 different federal programs that all are applicable in Texas, ranging from, and I don't have the specific list in front of me, but there are a few things around CARES Act and workforce investment boards, money coming through things that are on the eligible training provider list. There are a couple of Perkins grant programs that are available. We had a strategy meeting. We talked with Jessica. We're very grateful for the partnership because you all know your markets. And was it last week or the beginning of this week? Time is all kind of fungible in these COVID days. But recently we had a strategy meeting with Jessica and one of her program leads about the various ways that they're going after programs and embedding JobReady into their proposals and where we could help. And what we found was that there are a few types of programs where we're going to be doing some digging in even further. One of them is around dual enrollment. So I won't steal Jessica's secret sauce, but she said, if you could just do this and frame up the offering this way, then it would be eligible for dual enrollment. And we actually have a way of getting access to funds because we're familiar with that program. And that's just one example. So I think it's not just, Richard, where the funding is, but, so we would be glad to share with you that research. Jessica's helped us kind of to validate it. And she's been gracious enough to say, share with our peers around the state, so you can benefit from that. But also, as you decide, who you want to get funding from, or may hope to get funding from, whether it be a federal program or even a state program, a lot of times you've got to characterize that offering and then do it quickly, so that you're not spending 6 or 9 or 12 months just trying to get access to money. So I'm going to give an example of something that just happened in another state, in Ohio, which is a partner that we're working with there. And they identified that the best way for them to grow their market is to offer credit for courses. Now, everybody knows, you've got the big problems with taking something that's not already, registered for credit and getting it through the faculty senate and so forth. And he said, but there's one exception to that rule, which is credit for prior learning. And we have a different model around that. So we talked about that and found out pretty quickly that there's very, very quick path for us to frame up credit for prior learning offerings in a bunch of areas. And they're going to be able to package out, probably within 30 days, some programs that will actually be able to go and provide dual credit, I think, with their high schools. So it's a win-win-win. They've already thought about repricing their prior learning credit. That will now be affordable for the schools. Our stuff is very affordable. We have dramatic discounts thanks to the our founding partner, which is the National Education Foundation, who works very closely with Skillsoft in particular to get this high quality stuff affordable and available so that you all can offer it. So those are some of the things that we're doing. And, you know, as government, you know, comes out with other programs, we'll be looking where we can, and I know that you all will be looking yourselves, and we think we can be a very agile, effective partner in developing programs that then qualify for funding.
Well, and that's important to keep in mind. And I think when people are thinking about the money side of it, first thing I think I'd want to make sure people were aware of is that the content that we're talking about is just ridiculously expensive. And it was the work that Bill and his team did that brought that cost down about roughly an order of magnitude. Just completely changed the equation, that we would not be having this conversation, because this is content that if you work at 3M or General Motors or AT&T, you might have access to this as part of your professional development as an employee, that those employers are providing. But there's no way in the world our schools could afford it. And through this model, the cost has come down dramatically. And through the TCCTA agreement that we've been able to work out, we've been able to make sure that that very best pricing is available to our member institutions. So that's the first thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about cost, is that we've already been able to get the cost down low enough that we can even start talking about this. And then beyond that, there are revenue sources, federal, state, that are available if you're looking at dual credit. I know TEA has a lot of dollars that they're directing specifically to certifications embedded in dual credit courses. So, and I think that it's really important to know that a part of the conversation JobReady is prepared to have is around that. How are we going to pay for this? How are we going to make sure that's not an obstacle for institutions, for our students? I think our mission as community colleges and as a professional association is to make sure that those students who are probably going to be the ones that finding it most difficult to pay for these sorts of resources have access to it, and that we're not making something available to people, to one group over here, and the ones that could really, really urgently need it don't have access to it. So we do want to make sure that that level playing field exists for our students. And also, as we're looking at enrollments, we're going to be having a conversation tomorrow with College App, which is another new partner of ours. Jessica mentioned them a minute ago, around identifying prospective students. And how do we drive enrollments in a time where statewide it's a little over 8% reduction at community colleges, and at certain colleges it's down significantly more than that. How do we turn those numbers around? And this can be a good opportunity to be driving enrollments and generating revenue for our colleges. So it's a net revenue creator, not a new cost that you're imposing on a system that's already strapped. So this is more the solution to that problem, not making the problem worse. So I think that's an important thing to keep in mind, is how to make this money work for your institution, for your programs, and for your students. We are getting close to the top of the hour here, but I did want to give y'all a chance just to offer some closing thoughts. Anyone who might be involved in this, coming at it from a variety of angles. It may be the adult education part of the institution, continuing ed, your CTE programs, academic transfer. What is one or two things that you'd especially want for those folks to know about this offering, and why this might be something that they should take a look at? Jessica, I think you understand this world better than anyone. Why don't we start with you, if any closing thought you might have?
Well, because my division has adult ed and continuing ed and vocational programs and every kind of program under the sun. This, like I said, we thought that we were going to start out and we would just be, it would work for this market segment. It's just grown. And being able to interweave it within various aspects and for it to really bring together, and I'm speaking about JobReady, to bring together those pieces and still be able to look forward into the future to say it's still going to work here. So for me at NCTC, we really have, I think, gotten great value to date from JobReady and see nothing but good things on the horizon. And throw in real fast when he said prior learning credit, that is something that we're using as a marketing tool right now to develop. And I'll give you a quick example, CompTIA. You can, for one of the CompTIA programs, you can get 3 hours worth of credit. It's already established. It's in our catalog. Why are we not using it as a marketing tool? Well, we are now and are creating pathways, pathway maps to be able to use that in our advising. So short term, but then we also see how it benefits students in the long term.
That's terrific. Thanks so much, Jessica. Tim, what are your thoughts? You've been talking with folks at our colleges. What are you hearing, and what do you think is most important for them to know?
Well, I think, you guys have covered really the waterfront of things, and I don't want to be repetitive, but I will add something about College App because I think that's very important. As people listening may have noticed, Bill and I were not born yesterday. This is not makeup to make me look like this. And I say that because, I've been around selling things for a long time. And the College App marketing program, every time I bring it up to a school, and that's more than a couple of handfuls now, they say, oh, I want to hear about that. And College App is a program built by a friend of ours who developed a long time ago market research in the higher education space, in fact, in education generally, when we were at Pearson. And they have taken the technology and the database and the methodology of the political campaigns over the last 15 years that can target likely voters, and they can target people likely to want to take continuing or further education. I won't go into that deeply because there's no need to go into it deeply. But every time I mention that, people go, okay, I want to know about that. And once again, Bill, who got all this done, was able to get it done at a price that, frankly, when I first saw it, I thought was ridiculously low. It was unbelievable, frankly. So I would like to add to that. And also, I would say one other thing, we've been around the education marketplace for a long time. And so we know everybody, or almost everybody. And so when somebody says to us, I'd really like to have X, Y, and Z, it's likely that we know somebody who has an X or a Y or a Z, and that's a phone call away. And, there's a school down in San Antonio that's going to, ask us for an X, and we found an X for them, and we're about to tell them about it. And so that's not out of the realm of possibilities. So I guess those are the things I would add. Richard?
That's great. And for those interested in the College App marketing tool, very powerful tools that, again, were really only available to large budget operations. I mean, you needed to be at Walmart or AT&T or something to be able to use these tools. They're now at a price point that and it's been configured in a way that can benefit community colleges. We'll be talking with them tomorrow. So if you're interested in that, visit the same page on the TCCTA website you found this. and you can find the link to tomorrow's conversation around that. Bill, why don't we wrap up with you? You've been having these conversations with our folks around the state. Is there an insight or something that you feel like if they really need to know as they approach this question?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. One is this requires, like anything important, it requires work, but it's not hard. We have taken a lot of the friction out of this, whether it be the cost friction, the setup friction, to the point, Jessica, where I think when we talked, we were scrambling over the July 4th week to get you something so that you could present that back to your chancellor. We just had a conversation with Paris Junior College, and we were able to have that same conversation, and literally they said, we're interested, and like within 2 days they had a link to their catalog up and running, and then they could tweak it and make changes to it. So so this isn't hard. You can get started right away. The second thing is, the reason why we wanted to make this easy is because there are two constituencies that are really important in this country right now. The first is workers, and workers have taken a beating, and people need to get skilled. They need to get reskilled. Technology is making a lot of people nervous about, like, can I be part of this economy in the 2020s or not? And the reality is, if you give people access, there's lots and lots of opportunities. And so we all are focused on those job seekers, those career shifters, those people who really can't afford to take, 2 years, much less 4 years, to pivot their careers. They have months, sometimes, maybe even weeks, to be able to do something with their life. And because of that, community colleges are our most urgent and precious partner, because you all understand this community. You understand how workers and work connect together. You understand how to do that in a practical way. And what you haven't had is the capital being infused to do lots of innovation. Well, what we have done is we've done a jailbreak. We've gone to some of the best capitalized businesses in ed tech and said, we're not asking you to build anything new. We're just asking you to give us license to help this sector of the economy do something different, to help you all connect the dots between work and worker through high quality, affordable skills training. And this COVID moment, as Jessica mentioned, is an important moment because it's gotten everybody refocused around solving this problem and doing it quickly. We've got tens of millions of people who need jobs, tens of millions. You guys all know this, and hundreds of thousands in Texas that are very specifically being targeted by the governor. So we want to be a part of that solution. We've made it our life's work and our commitment to do that. We're so grateful for partners like Jessica who've had the courage to do this and to be a leader in this, and Richard, for you to have the vision to understand what our vision is and how it maps to your community. So thank you again. This has been really great.
Well, I appreciate that. And I think a lot of what we do as an organization are look for those moments when, when stars align or the visions align, where we're really trying to accomplish the same thing. And when you're out looking for that, you sometimes find it in surprising places. This is coming at a moment when it's urgently needed. And I feel like we can do some good. And I know because I've talked with a lot of our members, our folks really want to look back on this very difficult time in our lives, individually and as a state and as a nation, and be proud of what we did. As challenging as it was, we did some good. We were in a position, I think a very enviable position, that we can do some good for communities that really need it. We get a chance, and this can be part of it. And I hope that folks will have a look at this and see how it might fit with their efforts to do some good for the state of Texas, or for Denton or Gainesville, or McAllen or Houston or El Paso. Wherever you are, you've got an opportunity here. There is a link. It is in the chat section here. Katie will also put it on the resource links at the bottom below the video when we post this recording, so that you can access just a one-page summary of what JobReady is, and it'll have contact information so that you can get in touch with Tim or Bill to get more information about it and how this might look at your institution. I hope you'll take a look at it. I think it's incredibly relevant and has some opportunities there. Even if you don't use JobReady, I hope it gives you some ideas for things you can do with your school. But I think you're going to look at it and say this is really a smart way to go about it. So please have a look. I hope you've found some value in the last hour that we've spent talking. We'll be looking for your questions, your feedback, any requests for more information, and we'll make sure we get those questions answered. So please keep up the good work. Also have a look on our website and the virtual events that are coming up. We'll be having one tomorrow with the college app. We'll be having one on Thursday also with a psychologist at Texas State University about the impact that COVID is having on faculty and students, and what you as a faculty member or someone who works with faculty, if you work in administration, need to know to help everybody get through this. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of each other. And he's got some really powerful ideas about how to think about COVID and how to turn this into an opportunity for us to grow as communities and as individuals. So have a look for that as well. Also be looking for information about our convention, which will be coming up. A lot happening. We hope you'll stay involved. We sure are proud to have you all as members and proud of the work that you do. We're glad we get to be a part of that. So thank you all so much, and take care. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.